This is the official podcast of the man behind R.D. Scinto, Inc., real estate maven, visionary, community man, Bob Scinto. Each episode of the Let Me Be Your Landlord show will feature lessons learned through experience. I'm John Iannuzzi, and Park City Productions is proud to present this podcast. Before he became a leader in Connecticut corporate real estate with close to 4.5 million square feet, 50-plus buildings, and an occupancy rate of nearly 98%, which is well above national averages, the Scinto story started in the Park City with a family-run plumbing business. What takes place over the course of the next 6 decades is what we will focus on here on this program. Welcome to Chapter 4.
Okay.
I always start off, I have to read you some of the comments that our last episode got. Remembering gratitude is a great start, Bob. It's so important to appreciate each blessing and opportunity, as there's no guarantee they will come around again. That's a gentleman in New York. The next, one of the best podcasts ever about business, this young lady says. Life and spirituality, I could listen to Bob all day long. Well, she's in luck because there's a repeat button on this. And finally, you always learn something new every time he talks.
Oh, wonderful.
Then, of course, we appreciate our friends and partners in the media. The Fairfield County Catholic developer Bob Scinto speaks on his faith. Hearst Media, The Herald, Shelton developer, launches podcast to encourage others. And then I was also in contact with our friends in the bilingual Tribuna out of Danbury. People are enjoying the podcast. They're learning a lot about it. We were on the radio this morning talking about it. So it's very rewarding to see that the messages that we put out each week are being received. Last week, you made mention of don't sweat the small stuff.
Yes.
And I jotted down one of the themes. If you find yourself stressing over small matters, it might be a sign that there are other deeper problems that you aren't dealing with. Do you believe that to be true?
Yeah, you know, I tell people depression is a very good sign, okay? Because basically depression, what's happening is your subconscious is telling your conscious you're in the wrong direction. Subconsciously, you have to figure that out. You know, and I think that's very, very important. So, you know, and I also tell someone, I have a method of everyone gets depressed. I don't care who you are. Okay? And I've developed a great method of getting over it with one single thought. This shall pass. And as soon as I say to myself, this shall pass, it begins to pass. And it's amazing how effective that is. And that actually came from the don't sweat the small stuff, that thought. So that's why I mentioned that book last time. It's a combination of the other two books.
I thought it was interesting that distractions in general, okay, is something that maybe it's hard for us to admit, you know, when we're being taken off course. How do you avoid distractions? There's so many, Mr. Scinto.
Oh, you still have to stay focused. Remember the 5 F's. You got to stay focused on what you want to get done. Just stay focused on that. And, you know, don't let the distractions bother you. Don't let things bother you. You know, and that's all, you know, you have to go one, and also have little goals, the little achievements.
Small ones.
Yeah, small ones. You know, I think I've said it a couple of times, you know, in 1990 when, you know, my finances was horrible. You know, I was losing $500,000 a month in cash. I was in the banks for $63.5 million personally. I owed vendors about $7 million in, you know, sheetrock, carpenters, architects. And my real estate was 50% underwater. So in other words, if I owed $5 million on a property, it wasn't worth $2 million.
What was going on in this was just the climate national?
Yes, horrible. It was when all the banks went out of business because they changed the tax laws in '86. Okay, so that it hit in 1990. Okay, yeah, so I always like to tell people there's only two things that God doesn't know. He doesn't know what Jesuits are thinking. He doesn't know how I got out of that hole in 1990. Okay, I did little things. Every morning when I left the house, I had these little pocket brochures. I put 5 in one pocket and 5 in the other pocket. My goal each day was pass out 10 brochures, okay, to people who might be looking for space or someone who knows someone who's looking for space. So, it could be anybody. I will always tell the people the same thing. Put your name on it. If that comes back to me, I'll send you the Paris for the weekend, okay? So every day I wanted to pass out 10 brochures. I remember the City Trust, there was at that time, they used to have someone operate the elevators. And I gave the gentleman, one of my things. I said, listen, if you hear anyone saying I need space, hand them this, okay? So, little things. I made sure, I'm in this hole, but I want to pass out 10 brochures, okay? So
retail politics, right? I mean,
sure.
Door to door.
I used to go every night during that period. I worked 14 hours a day. I used to go every night to some event. Mm-hmm. Boy Squad, United Way, downtown cabaret meeting, someplace where there were people. And I used to go into that room and say to myself, there's a tenant in this room. I'm going to find the tenant. So I would go up to you, John. Hey, John, what are you doing? Well, what kind of work do you do? I'm a dentist. Oh, are you looking for any office space? And no, I'm all set. Nice meeting you. And then I find the next person to go to, okay? So I would work the room trying to rent my space because I'm trying to do little things. One funny story, I was playing tennis at the Trumbull Racket Club. And this guy, I'm not positive of the company's name, but I think it was Fairfield Graphics. He had a T-shirt that says Fairfield Graphics. So I said, Fairfield Graphics. I said, sir, you're looking for space, aren't you? So he looks at me. He says, who told you that? I said, I can't tell you. I got sources. No, I need to know. He goes, because 3 people work for me. And I had a meeting last week saying not to say anything to no one because I don't want 1,000 brokers down here. But we need more space. So I need you to tell me who told you. I said, sir, you told me. If that shirt said Pepsi-Cola on it, I would have said Pepsi. You were looking for space. So then I said, well, how much do you think you're looking for? So anyway, of course, I didn't make that deal. But I tried. That's all I can tell you.
It's funny because I have this one instance where there was a politician where I grew up who was not the most dynamic guy, but boy, did he work hard. And he did just what you said. Yeah. One night in August, many years ago, I saw this man 4 times. Mm-hmm. I saw him at a wake. Yeah. I saw him at a car show. Yeah. He went to the Elks Club. Yeah. And then at the diner for disco fries at 10 o'clock at night. I said, look at this guy working like this. And guess what? He's now the county executive of Westchester County.
Yeah, I believe that. That's what you have to put the effort in.
So we're talking about time on this episode. And it's something that has weaved through all of the episodes. And I felt like it was so important it deserved its own chapter here. It boggles my mind sometimes that we all have the same amount of minutes in a day. The most successful, impactful, influential people have the same amount of time as I do. Yet somehow, some days, I look up, half the day is gone, and I have not checked off anything on the list. How do you manage your time?
Well, to begin with, you have to understand where to spend time. They say that 90% of your income comes from 10% of your time. 90% of your income comes from 10% of your time. So you have to focus where that 10% is and increase that. That's number one. Number two, it's important to work with a yellow pad. Write down everything you need to do for the day. I normally come here on Saturday morning after I go to yoga, and I'll develop my yellow pad for the week on everything I want to make sure I get done for the week. and then everything I want to get done for the day. I keep adding to that pad. Be honest with you, that's probably one of the toughest things to do, is to always find something to do that you're productive when there's nothing to do. Okay, and it happens to everybody.
But really, there probably shouldn't be any time in the day where there's nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
In the back of my mind, Bob, I know that there's always something I should be doing. It's just do I want to do it?
Well, okay. That's a different issue. Listen, the most important thing is time. Where you spend time. It's the second habit. First things first. Understanding where you spend time. How important it is to spend time with your family. You should put down on your calendar a date night. We're going to go to the movies. You get into you're married and you don't put any time down for the two of you just by yourselves, or take your kid to a ball game or whatever it is. But you need to know where to spend time. Okay, we talked about that a couple of times ago when the enemy of the best is often the good. It's very good for me to be on my boat with my tenants. It's so good for my business, but the best thing is be home with my wife and my family. And whenever I give talks to people, I am so conscious. I always say to them, I say, listen, time is the most invaluable asset you have. Every day you have a little less time in your life. So where are you spending that time today? I'll tell you something very personally. I always like to say my morning prayers in the morning. And if I do them really quick, I can get done in about 3 minutes. If I take my time, if I do it right, it takes me 5 minutes. But I always say my morning prayers. And when I say my prayers, I always light a candle to St. Anthony. And when I blow out the candle, I always look at the smoke. And when I look at the smoke, this is a thought that comes to my mind. Am I going to die today? Is today my last day on earth? Because if it is, I want to make sure everyone that's important to me, I tell them how important they are to me. I also want to make sure I enjoy the day as much as I can, because this may be my last day. I remind myself of my own death every day so that I have a point of reference. I can really enjoy my day, because if you don't compare it to dying, you have no comparison. You get into a fog. So that's how I stay focused. And when anyone asks me how am I doing, I always have one answer: perfect. And then I normally say, if you need a reference, Matthew 5:48. If you need a reference, okay. So that's how I think about time.
Twice in the last couple of months, I had an opportunity, and I'm so grateful that I did, to tell folks who were departing how much they meant to me.
That's right.
I can't tell you how grateful I am that in both these cases, my mentor and my old neighbor in Bridgeport, there was an older lady who used to live on a house in the corner of Gregory and Myrtle, and I would see her twice a day, every day.
Right.
And then she started taking care of my dog, and she was the eyes of the neighborhood. And I said, she was on her way out, and I said, I got to get up there to Bridgeport Hospital to tell her how much she meant to me.
John, it happens. Sometimes you see something that tricks your mind, and you think about a person that was in your life at one time, and you say, Jesus, I need to reach out for that person. I need to reach out to that person and tell that person how much that person meant to you, what they did for you. And it makes them feel so good that they had an impact on your life. So you've done two things. You've helped yourself, but you've helped another by telling them your life has been very important. Okay, so that's just a fabulous trait.
Twice in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
How do you avoid time traps?
Meaning?
Okay, for instance, I know you've you've told us how much you like that phone.
Yes.
But boy, that thing could be problematic.
Well, I take all my phone calls. I don't screen phone calls. All
right, can you tell that story? Because the first time I called, I got you on the phone and I was caught off guard.
Yeah.
Why do you answer your own phone?
A great story. Mr. McIndoe McIndoe, he was my economics teacher at Andrew Ward High School, sophomore year. In that business class, we got a copy of Forbes magazine as part of the class. In there was an article by a gentleman by the name of McIntyre. He was president of PP&G in Pittsburgh. And he said that I never screen phone calls. He goes, the reason I don't screen phone calls is that now I can get information that people can't screen from me. So I answer every phone call. Anyone who calls, I answer the phone. So I go home, now, 1962, 63, whatever it was. Right? And I call information, and I get the number for Pittsburgh Plate and Glass. So I called up, and I said, hello, I'd like to speak to Mr. McIntyre. Okay, 1 second, please. He picks up the phone. He goes, McIntyre here. I said, Mr. McIntyre, I'm a sophomore in high school, in Andrew Ward High School. And I read this article about how you don't screen phone calls, and I just want to see if it's true. And he goes, it's true, goodbye. And since then, I've never screened phone calls. Now, sometimes you do get in, when you take all your calls, you have to be careful. A couple of years ago, I came back from skiing in Aspen, and I get a phone call. And the phone call was, hey, Bob, how was your vacation? What did you do? I went skiing, blah, blah, blah. And then finally he turns around and he goes, well, listen, I'm the Shelton Monroe Police Union. We're looking for a donation. I said, please, just send it to me. I'll try to send you a few bucks. I don't like to do this over the phone. About an hour or 2 hours later, I get the same phone call from and again, I don't know who I'm talking to, so I'm polite. And he goes, well, I'm from the Fairfield Fire Department, the union. I said, oh, police. Now, about 2 hours later, I get the same phone call. And the guy asked how much. And then I said to him, please get to the point. Why are you calling me? He goes, oh, Bob, I looked at some space with you about 2 weeks ago. I want to bring back my boss. I said, oh, my God.
I thought you were looking for a donation.
You're a tenant. And then I had to apologize. I had to tell him what happened. So after that experience, I'm very consistent on the phone.
So those time traps, you don't realize you're in them until you're in them. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I start surfing the web. I start out, looking for one thing, and next thing you know, I'm looking at hotels in Santa Monica. What am I doing? How do you avoid those?
You're doing things that are not productive. Everything you do should be productive. You shouldn't be just sitting at your computer looking through the web. I mean, that's not productive. I'll be honest with you, when I can't find something to do, I normally go to YouTube and I try to listen to a lecture by Thomas Sowell, all right? Or something like that, so that I'm always learning while I'm not doing anything or while I'm waiting for somebody. That YouTube is really terrific for me. I mean, I tell you I have trouble reading, so that's fantastic.
It's also where a lot of people listen to us right now. Do you feel compelled to manage your employees' time?
No, please. I have people here. I mean, we've got people here working 40 years. We have superstars here. Everyone's on the same team. We all go at ramming speed. You see the movie Ben-Hur? There's attack speed. There's battle speed, attack speed, and ramming speed, okay? We're at ramming speed here.
Straight ahead.
How
long can you rest on your laurels?
Never.
Never? You just made a huge sale.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Please. As soon as you have that thought, you're in trouble. Whew. That's like yesterday. And I'm very focused on every deal we can make. I don't want to lose a 1,000-foot deal. I'm sick over 1,000-foot deals. I am over 100,000 foot. Every deal is important. Every transaction is important. Every customer is important. You have to treat every customer with the same dignity. If 1,000 feet or 10,000, you have to give it the same effort, because people, John, are very smart. And they'll see if you're overselling you or underselling you. Okay, And, okay, they can sense that. So you have to give the same consistency to every pitch.
You're seasoned. You're a granddad now.
Yeah, sure.
How do you look at time now versus when you were, back in that rooming house collecting rent?
I don't, it's funny. I try just to stay focused on every day. I don't think I'm any different than the kid I was collecting the rents in the rooming houses. I think people who know me will tell you that.
I hope you appreciate how unique that is.
Yeah, I'm trying to do these podcasts. I'm trying to do it because I'm trying to give information to people that have brought my success to me. So I'm trying to do it sincerely and honestly as possible. And that's why I'm here.
We are entering the time of year where some of these legendary Scinto parties take place, right? Mm-hmm. What's coming up? What's on the dashboard here?
Well, we have our Labor Day party is a couple of months away. Last year we had like 8,700 people. And we know the number because we give out wristbands, okay? And then the carnival is the third week in September. And last year we did 16,000 bands because that's a great party because I hit 3 generations. I hit parents, I hit grandparents, I hit kids. Okay, and we give out T-shirts for young kids, and it says R.D. Scinto, future tenants. So we're always promoting. And I tell you why I do the carnival. A bunch of years ago, St. Anthony's. I love St. Anthony's car down there in Park Avenue. We just had it this past weekend. And I still go. Now I take my grandchildren. When a couple of years ago, I went through 200 hours in 10 minutes. Okay? I had about 6 kids. And I said to myself, my God, if I set this up for my tenants, this is a real bonanza for my tenants. So that's what gave me the idea, and that's why we do the parties. We do a lot of things. I mean, we Shakespeare lectures and tennis lessons, and we do, we try to do everything.
When you created this space, you had that in mind?
No, that kind of grew a little bit, John. One of the secrets of business is how do you separate yourself from everybody else? We try to do it with granite curbing. We try to do it with art. We try to do it with amenities. We try to support all the arts. So we try to separate ourselves from our competition. We also an advantage of being so large. We have 400 tenants. We have 52 buildings. So we can afford to give all these amenities away and not charge the tenants because we have so many tenants. If I only own 1 to 2 buildings, I couldn't possibly offer these amenities.
I know people who are tenants here who mark time by the installation of some of these different pieces that you have. A neighbor of mine was a tenant here many years ago, and she was explaining to me that she was here when the sculpture over by the parking garage was first laid out. Are any future plans that we should know about?
Yeah, I just came back from Italy, and I saw the most beautiful sculpture that I'm going to work on duplicating and put into the park. In fact, I met with someone this morning about it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. One of the F's was fun, and I hope that you had some fun on vacation. Sure. Back to our theme of time, how important is getting that family vacation in?
Oh, fantastic. My son-in-law turned 60. And for his 60th birthday, I told him he could invite 3 couples, and 2 couples, himself and my wife, myself, so 4 of us. And we went there for 5 days, and we had a spectacular time. We had Tuscany is special in Italy. That's a special place, And Florence is my favorite city, so.
Hey, on customer service, I thought about you because I recently ran into a buzzsaw. I had some airline credit from an international trip that we were supposed to take. We had to cancel. And I tried to call an airline. It was JetBlue. It was it was an hour and 11 minutes of my time that ended up with no resolution.
Yeah. It's a problem. It's a problem. There's no doubt about it. Traveling today is a nightmare. You really should focus on direct flights. Don't fly any place that you need a connection. That was, and my poor daughter, she lost her luggage. It took her 2 days before she got her luggage.
And you're paying a premium.
Yeah, of course we are. But that's our lesson. I mean, try to go direct. That's all I can tell you.
I kid you not. The attempt to even talk to a customer service representative was futile.
Yeah.
Futile. Hey, you mentioned yoga. I just want to give a shout out. You do have a great tenant here, Zoe over at Yogativity.
Oh, yeah, she's the best.
I used to take classes there, and that's a great spot.
I particularly like the hot yoga. It's about
do too.
It's 90 minutes, and I tell you what I like about it. Number one, you're in the room by yourself, so there's no phones, there's nothing. Okay, number one. Number two, there's 26 exercises, 3 on the ground and 3 standing up. Okay, each exercise you do for about 20 to 30 seconds. Okay. Then you rest between each exercise.
Just as important, by the way, as the actual pose.
Right. So what I do is that every pose, I have a goal in my mind, what I want to try to get done in the pose. Like if I'm bringing my foot behind my head, I want to see my foot and I want to hold it for 15 seconds. That's my particular goal on that day, okay? And then I try to go a little bit longer each time. Then once you go and you stand up again, I switch my mind back to my problems that I'm having or what I'm trying to think about. And I've done my most creative thinking in that room because I get thoughts because, see, I turn the brain on, and then as soon as I have to go over the pose, I got to go for 15 seconds. I turned it off. Then I turn it on again for the same problem. I don't think about the problem during the pose. I'm thinking about the objective of the pose, what I'm trying to get done. Bring my head down between my knees. I always drop my medal to try to touch the floor. I mean, some of these girls in this class is unbelievable. Their head goes right to the floor. I mean, I just can't believe it. So it's really a wonderful time to do. And it's a very tough thing to do, though.
90 minutes.
Oh, my God. I tell you, I've been doing it for about 15 years now. And I can tell you in 15 years, there's 6 people that I've seen steady for 15 years. That means they come and they go.
Right. Yeah, I've tried all different times of day. I think the early morning classes served me best, but...
I can only do it on Saturday morning. I tried to do it during the week, and my mind did not work during the week. Saturday morning, I know I can do it, and it works well for me.
It's wonderful. But hey, listen, that is an example of some of the tenants that are right here. Right. I made an email.
Okay.
Let me be your landlord at gmail.com. Nice and easy. And we wanted to invite people listening to reach us that way, right?
Okay, fine.
Send questions.
Sure.
Let me be your landlord at gmail.com.
Great. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.